Hey crafty friends, today I'm featuring Catherine Pooler's scalloped loop dies that are brand new, and I want to make a spring card for you. And I actually have this stuff from last year, so I have these really cute ephemera from Echo Park and some cutouts, and I still also have some of their 6x6 paper. I really love this saying that I must have flowers always and always. I'll probably use that, and I still have this really cute 6x6 spring pack. So I'm going to start out by cutting out that saying that I really liked. I want to try to use that on the front of my card, but we'll see how it turns out. So I'm just going to grab these two scalloped loop dies. These are really neat and beautiful, and I was thinking of doing a frame, and I think the smaller one might fit this one better. So here I have this big background stamp die from Hero Arts. It's really pretty. It has like flowers and a little bit of grass on it. And so I'm taking everything out of my Misty, the foam mat and everything. And I'm actually peeling the backing off one of my sticky mats so I can stick this paper that I cut 6x6, and this is just a plain white, it's a shimmer cardstock. So I'm going to stamp this image on the background to create kind of a little bit more of the flower feel that I'm going for. So I have Catherine Pooler's Deck the Halls. I thought the green would go nice with the green in my little cutout, and so here I'm just pressing it down. When you have a larger background stamp like this, you want to make sure everything's out of your Misty because they are a little bit thicker. They're the rubber stamps. So it looks really neat, and it adds a lot of like different grassy elements, and there's little bitty flowers in there. So I'm just stamping it one more time. I did have to do it a couple times just to make sure I got the impression that I wanted. So here I'm just taking this off the sticky mat for the first time. When it's the first time doing it, it's a little bit harder because it is pretty sticky, but I do like to just fold the sides in, and then it peels off really nicely, and then it doesn't curl as much. So look at all that detail. How beautiful is that? So I decided what I was going to do was actually cut out with the frame with our card sentiment dies. So from Emily Moore Designs, our A2 liner die, and then I'm going to put this loop one in the center, and I'm going to create sort of like a shaker frame. So I'm just cutting this out. I just did them at the same time. You could definitely do them separate from each other. And what's nice about this is the stamping kind of, you can't see it as well, but there's a stitching detail that matches our card sentiment die, which I thought was really nice. So I'm noticing that it's a little cut off. So there's the stitching that matches. So this is our card sentiment dies, and it kind of goes with it, which is really nice. My saying, I really wanted to use our olive green paper from the A2 base paper pack from Emily Moore Designs, but I'm noticing that my saying's a little bit too short, so you can kind of see obviously where the white cuts off. So I was thinking, well, maybe I can use a different saying, although I love the way that looks. And I found in the 6x6 paper pad this really beautiful yellow, and it says some see a weed and others see a wish, and it has the flowers in there still. So I felt like it still went with my theme. I felt like the yellow was really pretty and vibrant, and there was still a little bit of green in there from that flower. So now I'm just going to tape this down. I'm using some Scrapbook adhesives by 3L, and this stuff is nice because, as you can see, I didn't press it down too hard, and I'm trying to make sure I have it in the perfect spot in the center so that when I lay my frame on there, it's all even on the outside, so there's a nice even border. So it might not look centered from the front of the card, but once that frame is on there, because it is a little bit off center, like the actual yellow part, it'll be even. So here I have some sequins from Catherine Pooler. All this stuff is going to be linked in the description below in my YouTube. And now I'm going to just cut out a sheet of acetate here to make a fun shaker. And then look how neat this is with this specific tape runner. You can just roll it all the way across. Isn't that cool? And it just turns with it because it's these little strips that are able to be flexible. So I really love that from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. It's a really nice tape, especially for something, and it's super secure for something like this, like a shaker. So now I have my my nonstick scissors and some foam tape, also from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L, and I'm just trimming this down to create a border for my shaker card. I have a separate video on just plain and simple how to make a shaker card, but this is pretty much the same thing here. We're applying the foam to the backing of our frame and just making sure there's going to be no space in between each piece of tape, foam tape here, and making sure you can't see the foam tape, which is made pretty easily with a shaker card like this when we have such a big frame. Some are a little bit smaller than others, but so here I'm just lining this last piece up and just going to trim this so it's not too bulky, and then I decided to put another little piece in the corner here because there was a little crack and I don't want, these sequins are a little bit smaller. This is my anti-static pouch, so I'm just rubbing the acetate with that so none of the sequins stick to it. And I have the sequins in the center of my card here, but I feel like I wanted to add more. It's hard to figure out the balance of, you know, how much to add. You don't want it to be too bulky to the point where it doesn't even shake, but you also want there to be enough in there so that people can see it and enjoy it. So this felt like a little bit too much, although I love all the sequins, because you have to remember when it's up, they're all going to fall down, right? So it's not going to be completely covered like that, but I still felt like it was a little too much. So just going through and taking a little bit out at a time and then spreading them around also helps to make sure that, you know, you have it evenly spread so that when you place your foam piece down, it's not going to get caught in between, if that makes sense. And so I'm just peeling the backing off here, and then carefully I just line up, I think that was upside down, here we go, line it up from corner to corner. Looks really good and as even as possible, and then just pressing down, making sure that you press down all the edges of your foam tape before you start to shake it. There we go, and that looks good, and none of my sequins stuck, so I'm happy with that. That looks beautiful. I love the front, but I do feel like I want to add something, so I have this Altenew ice skate, winter ice skate die set, and I really love the flowers in this die set, so I'm not going to use the ice skate, obviously, because we're making a beautiful spring card, but they have these really great flowers in here that are really simple to create. So I'm just grabbing some different Catherine Pooler inks. I have Shea Butter and Sauna, and I'm probably going to be using a little bit of With an Olive, and I also have the Mandarin Spice. And for these inks, I'm just using them as direct to paper, which means I'm just pressing them down directly onto my paper. And so I'm just going to run these through and cut out the different shades. I was just really inspired by that new yellow background that I chose instead of the I Must Have Flowers Always and Always. Didn't work out, but I'm just pivoting and it's working out well, I think. So I'm just kind of inspired by the yellow, making some yellow flowers. If this is something that you enjoy as far as making flowers, I just launched my beginners card making class, which I'll have linked above for you and below. And if you love making flowers, you're going to love my class. Now let's make some flowers. So I was also able to find some green paper. I had some cardstock and I just cut out some of the leaves as well, and I felt like it went really nicely with our olive color of frame and card base that we have here. So now I'm just kind of placing these flowers around the front of my card, kind of trying to see where they pop and where they look nice. And I have some more adhesive from Scrapbook and Adhesives by 3L, and these are a little bit larger foam squares, so they'll lift up a little bit more off the base of my card, which is what I want. And I think I'm just going to end up gluing down my leaves here, and I'm just kind of seeing maybe around the frame here how these flowers look and kind of clustering them. They look beautiful. I think the yellow and orange really pop with that yellow background, and I really like the way this is turning out. Very springy and very bright and colorful. A little bit busy, but I love my cards like that. And once you see all the green and the oranges together, I think it just turns out really well. So don't be afraid of pattern and colors and adding even more embellishments to your cards. I think it can really add that special touch and just a little bit more of a uniqueness to your card when you do add something like this, like some flowers that are especially with this theme of the card, right? So I'm just kind of putting the foam on all of the backings, but not peeling the back off just yet. Just placing them around, seeing where I like them, and this looks really nice. So I'm just going to It looks really pretty. I really enjoy this. I'm just going to start by gluing down my leaves here. And I did notice that try to make sure you, with the other leaves, I kind of scrape off a little bit more of the glue, because if there is too much, it will kind of bleed onto the inked background that we have. So just be careful with that. So I just used a little less on the left side here. And no big deal. It didn't ruin the card or anything. I just noticed that because of the wetness of the glue. So now I'm just going to go through and peel off the backings here, which is my favorite part, and placing the final touches around the front of my card. These look fantastic. I love them. What do you guys think? Do you guys make your own flowers? That's like what I said earlier. It's something that we just did in our beginner's card making class, but a little bit more detail and a little bit slower, so we can walk through it together if that's something you're interested in. So here's that shaker element. How beautiful is this? But I decided I didn't want to stop here. I love this card so much, and I want to finish the inside of it with you guys. So I'm just really obsessed with this shaker at this point. So we have this pretty olive green, and I actually had a little bit of ink smudging on the inside bottom half of my card, but I wanted to use that same element that I wanted to use on the front of my card on the inside because it still went with it. But for the bottom half, I'm going to use the same shimmer cardstock that I used on the front of my card, and I have this beautiful black and white washi tape that I think will go perfectly with the saying of my card. And I'm just going to cut this out with our card sentiment dies. This is one of my favorite tricks because you can see the washi gets stitched in and it works really well. So that's our A2 liner die from the card sentiment dies pack. So I'm just going to adhere this onto the bottom half of my card. This is where you can write your sentiments. That's how simple it is. That was the whole point. That was the reason why I made the A2 liner die, was for the inside of the card, but it works out really well for the outside as well. And I'm going to add a couple more flowers, a little embellishment detail down on the bottom here with my washi. So these are thin. So I don't know if you can see, but I tried to compare. These are thin foam squares, which I really love, especially for the inside of the card, because you don't necessarily want to add too much bulk. So I'm just adding those to the back of these flowers and then gluing down one of my leaves that I recently cut out. And I just feel like these colors work so well together, the orange and the green, and it just looks really pretty. And then this ended up being really simple for the inside, just adhering that saying down. I didn't even have to stamp anything. So here's my thin foam squares. Again, I'm using the larger or medium, I think, size for my little banner here, which is super cute. I love this. It says spring. I think it says spring has sprung, which is super cute. And I just feel like this whole flower theme, it just goes with it. So just trying to center that on the edge there, which looks good. And then I'm adding a couple more of the flowers that we made. And I love making extra flowers for this reason, because you can use them on the inside and the outside of your card. So just kind of placing them around, seeing where I like them. And then I am going to glue down a few of the sequins that I used on the front of the inside shaker part to the inside of my card. This is Bavarian, I believe, sequin mix, so I'll link that as well. And it has these really subtle greens and just different tones that went really well with our card that I really liked. I didn't want to use the red because I felt like that was a little too bright, but this is the inside of our card. How beautiful is that? And I just used the new sequin tool that I just did that review on, and it worked fantastic. And going through and pressing down the sequins worked really well. So here is how we used the new scallop loop dies with our card sentiment dies to create this beautiful shaker and these awesome flowers. And look how beautiful this is. And again, if you love doing that, make sure to sign up for our beginner's card making class. And then here is the inside of our card. How beautiful with all these pretty details. And the stitching, I just love it. I hope you loved this. Thanks so much for watching.